Hi, it's Hans at happierman.com. Today's topic is improve your happier man concept. Well, a concept, when you read the manifestation experts, especially Neville Goddard and others of that vintage, they talk about improving the concept of yourself, meaning how you think you want, how your life should look, right? The concept is, the idea of the concept is you desire your life to be a certain way. There's certain elements of your life, your lifestyle, your your income, the people you interact with, the things you do, how you live your life is your dream. Let's say your dream life, and that would be your concept of how you want your life to be. So if your concept is way off, meaning you don't think you deserve a great life and you think it's your lot in life to suffer, and you think somehow that tolerating bad conditions is noble or the thing to do, well, then you won't be able to climb up into a better life, a happier man life, a wonderful life, a dream life. So the concept starts the process, right? How you think you want your life to be, and then you kind of think your way into it on a continuous basis. You imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have all these problems, if you didn't have all these frustrations, if your life was just like this, it would be great. Well, that's the concept, right? So let's say, bringing it back to my major example of, I left a verbally abusive wife many years ago, and because of the verbal abuse, I just couldn't deal with that. And part of the reason I couldn't deal with it is I improved the concept of my life at that time to say, I don't like my life the way it is. I don't like being verbally abused. I don't like being ridiculed and have sarcasm used at me and be lectured and told how wrong I am. I didn't like that at all. So I was trying to improve my concept to say, I don't want this anymore in my life, and I'm going to do what it takes to get it out of my life. And the way I did that was by leaving my wife. And a big part of the book I wrote, Leave Your Wife and Become a Happier Man, with the 3-step system that's available on the allhappierman.com website, is having kind of constant practices in order to improve how I thought my life should go, that I deserved a great life, that I did not deserve this very, very miserable life I was living, filled with frustration and stagnation and just a punching down of my self-esteem and self-confidence on an almost continual basis. But this started with the concept. The concept was, I want to be happy. I want to be free from this kind of treatment. I want to live a good life, a life that I can be happy with. And I did that. I changed the concept of my life. And since I went through all that as a very unhappy man to become a happier man, I wrote, I made various strides upwards, always. And every time I make a stride upward, it's usually because I've changed the concept of myself. I've gone from, a low level to a higher level, and by doing this step-by-step process, one day you wake up and you're happier than you ever been in your life. You're in more total control of every aspect of your life, and things are just going along better and better. And to me, that's kind of the key to a great life. Is I'm very happy now, and tomorrow I'll probably be happier, and a year from now I'll be even happier still. Now, if you look at the converse, if I'm not happy now and tomorrow is going to suck and next year is probably going to get worse, well, what do you think is going to happen to your life, right? That's exactly how it's going to go. You have to flip the script, change the concept of your life, and that's usually trying to solve your biggest problem. And let's say for me, at the time when I left my wife, my biggest problem was this verbally abusive wife, right? Nothing else really mattered but solving this big problem. And once I solved that big problem, yeah, my life started to get dramatically bigger. But along the way there, from then until now, I've had various other big problems that I figure out what the problem is, change the concept to myself to say, I'm not going to deal with this big problem anymore. I'm going to move past it. I'm going to solve it in some fashion or form and move on from it. Some of the big problems I had was the type of jobs I've had there. There's been a couple of job changes along the way, and by making those job changes, which were fairly dramatic, I improved my life dramatically. There was several big purchases that were scary to me to make, that once I made those purchases, it improved my life dramatically. There were several things I did along the way that were big and scary, and improved my life immeasurably, and it's all by this concept. So I would take some time to explore that concept idea. You should get the book, some books from Neville Goddard, and start studying those. They're not very hard to read. They're kind of easy reading, but the concept, the ideas are kind of tough to grasp. So you want to, that's the kind of book you should read multiple times and keep referring back to. And I keep seeing this, that, maybe when I decided to leave my wife, I had no idea who Neville Goddard was, and I wasn't really thinking along the lines of the things that we know now about putting things in your mind and imagining your new reality from a point that you're thinking about it from that point. But in essence, that's what I did. I had a miserable life. I didn't want that. I wanted a better life. And then in order to get that better life, the actions in order to get the better life were readily apparent. It was just one thing after the other. And certainly when you're making improvements, sometimes you go a few steps forward and then you go a little bit back. And sometimes you'll make enormous progress, and sometimes you'll take a huge backslide for whatever reason. But if you keep your eyes on that prize, that concept of yourself, what do you want your life to look like? And just keep thinking about how you want your life to be, and then eventually the things will start to work out to make your life be that way, as long as you have that persistent, consistent imagining. The teachers are very, they're constantly telling you that this imagining has to be kind of a constant thing, right? You can't just say, well, I wish I had an extra $10,000 and then forget about it. No, you would be thinking about it all the time, and then at some point you figure there's a way where that extra money would materialize for you, but it has to be a constant effort in the imagining of it, and a constant being open to the ways that money might arrive. So again, with the concept, it works. It works much better for small things. Let's say, start with something. Let's say, if your life is kind of okay, you don't have a massive problem like, a horrible marriage, or a job you absolutely hate beyond belief, or you're living in a very, very terrible spot. Those are like I would call the three main stressors in a man's life, where you want to solve that. But see, in those cases, the solution is obvious. You leave the wife, you get a better job, you move, right? You are not trapped in those things. There is a way out of those major problems, and they are major. But let's say once you get past that, and you get these little minor frustrations. Well, when you're not happy, and if you're happy, and you have a minor frustration, your happiness dwindles, right? You've got this problem, and that's your cue to solve it. It's in my case, there's things like these weight training injuries or other little injuries to myself that I really were bothering me. Like I couldn't fully lift weights the way I wanted to with these various injuries. I'd hurt my foot at one point, and it was difficult to walk. And these minor frustrations just kind of ruin your life temporarily, but even if it's temporarily ruined, it's still ruined because you want to have this enormously happier man lifestyle where you're constantly happy. So you focus on what would you feel like if this little problem was solved. Like when I had my foot problem, it was my foot is stable, feels great. It's stable and secure. I can take long walks and do whatever I want. I would think about this kind of a consistent basis, and eventually the problem kind of went away. Now, it could be going away just with the passage of time, but it doesn't hurt to think your way into a better life. You don't focus on how bad you feel and how much it hurts and you wish it wouldn't have happened. You focus on what would you feel like once it's totally fine, right? What would it feel like if once it's totally fine? So I know this is a much different way of thinking than you probably have been thinking up to this point, but I would give that idea some thought. Change the concept of yourself. Write it down and then play with this. Write down what would solve your problems, right? What would the solution look like once this problem is solved? Once you've left your wife and everything is taken care of legally and logistically, what would your life look like? How happy would you be? What would you be doing? And then think from that space. Once you get a great job and leave that bad job behind, what is going to feel like to look forward to the job every Monday morning and to see your big paychecks and to enjoy the quality of life benefits and to interact with your colleagues on a way that you really like and to work at a pace that you can easily handle and that you're enjoying and providing value to the world. What would it feel like to be living in the location that you want, that you truly like, that it just kind of meets your needs, at least in the present moment, right? What would it feel like? And you write it down, and that's how you think from, and that's how you start to change the concept of yourself. So give those ideas some thought, all for now.